Two social workers on a mission to change the narrative, Millennial Babies podcast seeks to empower others in making changes to maintain their physical, emotional, and mental health. This podcast is about becoming the best version of ourselves. I hope you feel inspired. Join Bria Spencer and Fadia Jean-Pierre bi-weekly as they initiate conversations about mental health, fitness, and travel. Share this with someone who needs it. Follow us on Instagram at millennial_babes_podcast, and let's continue the conversation. Welcome back to the Millennial Babes podcast. My name is Bria, and we are joined with Fadia and our special guest, Victor. He is a professional chef who graduated from the Culinary Institute of America in 2005, and he will be talking to us about living intentionally through fitness, meditation, and living a healthy lifestyle. Welcome, Victor, and is there anything else that you would like the audience to know about you?
No, you summed it up pretty well. I've been cooking for quite a while, and it's staying fit and has become my passion in more recent years.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about that, with fitness. I follow the keto lifestyle and also work out 5 times a week, which has been so helpful for me and just taking care of my physical body, and found a new passion of mine as well. What are some of the fitness things that you've been doing and have been doing in these past few years?
These past few years, I've been in training a lot of yoga. I started
Mm.
yoga in 2017, and I kind of fell in love with it. Before yoga, I was doing a lot of cycling, bike riding. I learned to swim a few years ago, so that became a new love, along with training in martial arts. Currently, I've been training in a lot of Tai Chi, and I feel it goes hand in hand with yoga very well as far as moving meditation is concerned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what motivated you to begin this lifestyle for you? What was your purpose in that?
Actually, motivation wise, it kind of just fell into place. It started my martial arts started in 2014, and it was kind of a way for me to de-stress from my first business that didn't work out so well. So my first business was in 2013. I started a food truck in New York City, and I was selling chicken wings. So at the same
Mm.
time, still working the hotel job, and I really burnt myself out. I put myself in a very unhealthy state, physically and mentally at the time. I just didn't know it. And when I finally quit the truck, I went back to just working one job. And that's how I got into training afterwards. I got into training, and it really saved my physical body and my mental body at the same time. And ever since then, I said, okay, I'm not stopping training. And that's what propelled me forward. I even started a martial arts school with my master at that time, back in 2015.
Okay. And you talk about how that saved you. So in what way did it save you? Like, what are some things that you had to do, or what did you go through that put you in that position where you felt safe and starting living intentionally and making some changes in your life?
Living intentionally is definitely part of it. For a long time, I was living very unconsciously, just doing things, staying busy. And my first business is a total example of that. I went so hardcore into my first business that I forgot. I stopped bike riding. I ended up picking up some unhealthy habits again, drinking a lot of Red Bull, smoking cigarettes again, just to sustain my body's energy, just to continue forward with this business. And when the business did not work out, I kind of hit this sort of depression phase. And for me, it was very devastating at the time, because being a chef and being someone who went all in on a career choice, and then starting my own first business and having it not pan out the way I wanted it to, it was very devastating for me at the time. And along with putting so many hours into the food truck and working the hotel still, I really burnt myself out on a physical and mental level. And when it didn't work out, that just took another whole toll on me. So moving forward, at the time, I was very lost. I did not know where I wanted to go in life with that direction. And so I ended up running into an old friend who introduced me to his martial arts trainer. And I always had the sense, I always loved being physical from a young age. I
Mm-hmm.
always loved playing sports, being active, but I just didn't know that it was going to turn into this. Back 5, 6 years ago, had you told me I would come into this type of lifestyle, doing yoga too, I would have been like, no way. But going into martial arts is what saved me on a physical level. It repaired my body very well. But on a mental note, I was still in this kind of slump because things didn't pan out for me. And that's the reason why it being in martial arts, it became my second business when I helped my master at the time open up his school. And that's how that kind of flowed into that, taking my business background from the first business and it flowed into the second business of the martial arts school. Unfortunately, having that for about a year and a half, the school did not turn out so well, successful, profitable wise, and we had to close down. And then again, I hit another kind of like slump again with
Mm-hmm.
depression that came back. And that's when I found yoga. And yoga was what really helped me connect more of the mind body connections
Yes.
versus martial arts was very physical in a uh, physical in a sense, but I didn't get into the meditations at the time, which is very much part of martial arts. Also, yoga was what helped tap into that for me.
Mm-hmm. And so as you're talking about like yoga and how the mental part, right? Like you experienced a lot of breakthroughs. So you had so many experiences that were not, they started out good, but then not so positive. It ended in a way where it's like you felt like you weren't getting where you needed to be. You were not doing what you needed to do. And you felt like you said, you felt depressed, like you were experiencing the depression. And as you started finding yoga, like how did that started transforming for you? Like for someone like me who I enjoy yoga and I'm not as like consistent or perfect like a yogi is, and I know that's something I'm incorporating into my life. And for someone like me who is looking to connect more with my body and my spirit and my physical, how is that? How did that start transforming you? How did it begin to transforming you mentally? What did you notice that was starting to be different for you?
Mentally in yoga, what helped me out the most was just going to practice, starting to practice off. That was a big thing for me. I always knew about yoga and what it kind of was at the time, but I didn't understand the whole entire aspect of how it connects the mind and the body with the
Mm-hmm.
spiritual realm. And since understanding that in yoga, what helped me out the most was just once I started yoga the first year, I committed a full year to it. I stopped martial arts at the time because I had that falling out with my master and the school. So I was really broken in that sense because I felt like I put in my all in the second business. And again, it did not turn out well again. On top of losing the second business, I lost my good friend who was my master at the time also. And I felt like I was really left with nothing. So understanding this energy inside of me, I had to just keep on moving it forward, whether it was in a physical sense or not. And yoga became my outlet for that. And in
Mm-hmm.
going into yoga and in really truly being honest with myself and embracing yoga in the sense of, hey, look, I'm just going to start this. I at the time, I kind of knew why I wanted to start it is because I've hit a certain wall in my martial arts also where it was not that I was not receiving the correct information. It was that I was unable to perform with my body what I was being instructed to do. So yoga was a key that I was like, okay, just gonna dive headfirst into this and give it my all for the first year. And that's what helped me kick into this other mindset of, okay, if you're gonna do this, just do this full on. And that helped me embrace fasting. That's also what helped me embrace the more plant-based traditions to start with. At the same time, during that same time also, me thinking, having this healthy kind of mindset from my previous life of cycling and swimming and running, um, I also ended up having this type of allergic reaction happen to my body during this yoga practice. And I did not know what it was. It was this bad skin allergy where I was growing this rash and it was becoming a very unhealthy thing for me, especially going into the hot room. And then I got these marks on my body and I felt like everybody was looking at me. So I hid in the corner a lot for that first year, unfortunately. But it was, I don't want to say unfortunately, it was one of my stepping stones. So I made it to class was one thing, and then committing to the practice full on, like not thinking about anything else, just following the instructors, trusting the instructors, knowing that it'll guide me in a certain way was a lot of letting go, also a lot of getting over my own self. And I started getting accustomed to the practice more. I started understanding the names more, and I started unlocking like a lot of things in my body a lot more also. And that's what started unlocking, I feel like, more my mental abilities and more my spiritual abilities, and going into that. And then I started meditating and sitting quiet and sitting still with myself, which is something, as a born and raised New Yorker, is it was very difficult in the beginning, no lie, to just sit there, even just for the first 5, 10, 15 minutes. It's just, oh man, you get all these thoughts running through your head, all this, all that. When is this going to stop? So that type of struggle, it is totally real, especially if you as an individual like me going through depression and trying to come out of it also. At the time, I didn't even know I was depressed. I was just in bad moods every single day. I didn't understand what it was called. I didn't go seek any help for it because I didn't know I needed any help either. But my
Okay.
outlet was just to stay physical, just to do something physical and continue on with that.
Thank you for sharing that. That takes a lot and vulnerability to recognize that you are struggling with something, right? You have challenges with depression and not knowing what it was, but being able to get to a place where you can define it and start working towards that to have a healthy mind, because it's really important that we work on ourselves, and our mental health is really, really important that we define. Even if we don't know what it is, like seek support to understand, okay, I'm experiencing these mood swings, I'm having these thoughts, I don't know what to do, and just seeking the support to find, different ways to learn how to cope with it is really important. And thank you for sharing that. And I think that's really big to do that.
It's at the time, like I said, I didn't know I was going through it, but I felt the emotions. I didn't know what it meant. I always felt like it amounted to this thing happening to me, and I really did not know how to react better to it. I was just reacting in a very unconscious way of, okay, let me see what next now. And that's kind of how every day was back then for me. Okay, now I wake up, let me see what's next, let me see what's next, instead of, versus now I wake up with more purpose driven, more understanding. Hey, look, you're waking up because you got this to do today, and you got this to do, and you got this to accomplish,
Right.
which is living life in a total um, mindset. It's really game changing.
Yeah. And for some people, they are unable to be able to connect that. Like they have these feelings. They're not sure if it's depression or not. And they do cope in different ways. And it does take, waking up one day like, okay, I need to figure out another way to cope in a healthy way. And for you, that was through fitness, which has always been a part of your life, but also knowing that you shifted through yoga, which really aligned with who you are. And that was able to really center you and ground you and be able to address the emotions that you've been feeling and mentally be able to center yourself as well. And that's actually one of the things that I relate to because after I had my daughter 4 years ago, I went through postpartum depression. And I'm the type of, everyone knows that, I'm the type of person that, when I'm happy, I eat. When I'm sad, I eat. When I'm stressed, I eat. That's just naturally how I coped with my emotions and not really understanding why I was feeling the way that I feel, even though I know that I love my daughter so much. It was just trying to cope with the different feelings of having a new life and, shedding the old and as well. And so I wanted to figure out how I can manage that. And that was first acknowledging that I'm probably am suffering from depression. So addressing that and just saying that that is okay because we women do go through that. And also wanting to get a better handle on the way that I'm eating And so that's when I started to change my relationship, because I realized that they both go hand in hand. The way you feel, your thoughts and emotions connected to how your behaviors to cope with those emotions. And so I, like you, I had a friend who introduced me to like the low carb diet, and she was training me because she was, you know, a bodybuilder herself, and she was personally training me, and I was able to lose the weight very quickly, but I wasn't able to sustain it because I still had those like certain cravings that and emotions as well. So I was like, you know, she introduced me to the keto lifestyle. And with that, I've been doing that for the past 2 years, and felt like it's really changed my life, where I'm more conscious of what I'm eating and how it improves my cravings and how it's connected to my emotions, and finding joy in all of that. And so it's important to find outlets that work best for you, and also knowing that not only are you not taking care of your mental health, but you also have to take care of your physical health through working out, exercising, moving your body, and what you're eating.
Totally. I totally agree with you, especially finding that part where you say finding the joy in it also.
Yes.
I think that's very important in especially adopting new habits and learning new things, finding that, always sticking to that initial motivation of why am I doing this? And
Yes.
if that answer is usually I'm doing this because I enjoy it, I like it, it's gonna carry you through, no matter what outlet it is, whether it's working out or yoga or martial arts, or it could be just writing or reading.
Exactly,
Yeah.
definitely. I'm interested to learn more, since because you're also plant-based, right? So how
I
did yeah, how
my
did
Go ahead.
sorry. How did you get into, you know, the plant-based lifestyle? How did you start?
So the plant-based lifestyle really started from when I went to go seek help about my skin rash condition,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know what it was. Since I never experienced it before, I just had this thinking, okay, maybe it'll just go away on its own. And after 9 months of it not going away on its own and it actually spreading more on my body is when I went to go seek help. But I kind of had an idea that the Western doctors that we're used to would
Mm-hmm.
just either look at it and then give me some pills or cream and then just kind of send me
Yeah.
away. Because I understand the Western traditions of the medicine practice here is more based off of treating symptoms versus treating root causes of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and I spoke to my parents about it. My parents brought me to a holistic Eastern doctor that practices traditional Chinese medicine. And from that is when he told me, and at the time I didn't understand any of this. I didn't understand what it was, how it made sense. But he told me that I had something wrong with my gut, my intestines. And that's when I did research. He told me first off to stop eating all shellfish, and he told me to limit my red meats. And that's kind of what kicked off this lifestyle of understanding, okay, I do need to start limiting certain foods now, because I grew up eating anything and everything, not having an allergy at all, and I
Yes.
loved it. And that's one of the reasons why I became a chef, because in many interviews we're always asked, okay, what was your passion, what drove you to become a chef? A lot of people say it's the love for food, it's for love for cooking, and it is those, but my main reason was really just to feed myself. Real
Yeah.
basic, real simple. I just love to eat. And I was like, you know what? If you're gonna pick a profession, you're gonna be working with your hands, do something that's gonna give me the most perk. And I knew eating wise, we all eat. We all have to eat. You know, there's no way we're not eating. So I was like, okay, let me get into a profession where I take care of one of my biggest needs, which is eating.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this journey of being a chef, I ate so many great foods along the way, so many fine dishes, working at a luxury hotel and working at other fine dining restaurants and good catering companies. So I had my fill of eating. So when he told me to stop, my parents looked at me and he said, "You just named all his favorite foods. You want him to stop that?" And I was like, for me, I hit this wall where I came to terms with, look, okay, obviously I thought I was doing something that was healthy. And the fact that my body is screaming at me, telling me that, hey, something's going wrong and it's not something that you can see, it's something on the inside, is what made me, okay, I'm gonna take his advice and
Mm-hmm.
just go in on it also. So I had to quit shellfish and I quit red meats, and I really limited my intake of pork and chicken as well too, and I stuck with mostly fish. And that's really how it phased into this plant-based lifestyle for myself, is because my body inside. That's when I did research also about the gut microbiome. I knew
Okay.
nothing about it before, and
Mm-hmm.
in our gut microbiome has anywhere from billions to trillions of different types of bacteria, pathogens, viruses also. And it's these little guys inside of us that we need to be feeding if we choose to want to be healthy.
Mm.
Okay.
Because our immune system, I've learned, is also stored 80% in our gut area. And when it
Okay.
gets released, it's get released by these all these little guys, all these microbes in our small and large intestines. And these are the little guys inside of us that I know it doesn't sound nice when we say something's living inside of us, but it's true. And these are the little guys that I've learned to feed in order to live a more physically healthier lifestyle. And at the same time, it translates to a more mental, clearer mental state. And it allows me to tap into that spirituality, which I never really um, cared much for before, but now
Mm-hmm.
I understand the connectivity and I understand um, how important it is for an individual to have these um, keys of understanding the physical body to the mind to the
Mm-hmm.
spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it all came together for me, just going on this journey of, okay, it's happening to me physically, let me find an answer to it, and then
Mm-hmm.
finding an answer to it led me to the next
Mm-hmm.
thing, which led me to fasting, which led me to pretty much this little journey I've been on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was gonna say for me, I know plant-based for me, that's how it started. It's like I think we all wait till something is like we don't feel healthy and something is like going wrong, and then it kind of challenges us and say, okay, I may need to change. I need to change something. What do I need to change? I know for me, I was like almost like borderline diabetic when I went to see my doctor, and she was like, if you don't change how you eat right now, like you're gonna get sick, like really bad. And I know like my family had history, right, of diabetic, and I see like how it's hard for them, and I'm like, I don't want to be like that. So it's like, where do I start? What do I do? And I think I had to like eliminate, meat, and that's something I love as well, especially coming from the Caribbean. We love our chicken, or fried chicken,
Mm-hmm.
right? We love our fried pork. We listen, we're Haitian, so
Yes.
to give up for me, it was kind of like I can't have the favorite food that I want to have, but at the same time, do you want to be healthy? Do you want to feel good? Because if you're not feeling healthy mentally, you're not going to feel good inside and mentally either, because it's gonna lead to that depression, because you're gonna feel sad because you're eating all these food that is not good for your body, and your body's not responding the way it's supposed to. And it also has to do with like age too. Like when you're young, go ahead, eat, you have all the energy, but as we get older, we have to pay more attention to our health, and it's not just physical, it's not just mental, but also what we eat. The food that we eat is really important, what we're consuming. And so for you, getting rid of meat, because I know some people are looking at us like, wait, you don't eat meat. I know for you, Bria, you do keto lifestyle, so you also still eat meat. The transition, because how can we help other people like understand, like, you can still eat healthy and still eat good food,
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't have meat. How you can, if you don't want to give it the meat, but how can you still be healthy physically? Like, how can you still do that in the process?
For me, I feel if we are if we do the research and we go
Mm-hmm.
back and we think about it and we're really honest with ourselves, we would learn that I've learned that our teeth is our first signal of letting us know
Mm.
we're not meant to eat meat. Because if you look at all the carnivores out in the wild, their teeth, carnivore teeth, are sharp. Look at the shark, look at the tiger, look at the lion. We don't have those such teeth. We have teeth that are made for grinding. And this
Mm-hmm.
grinding ability is really meant because we're more innately human base wise, we're more made to grind down plants, green fibrous stuff. And in learning to cultivate food is when I feel like we went a little bit wrong there, because instead of in farms and agriculture. Instead of cultivating good, healthy crops for us to eat, we went to farming more animal-based meats. Nothing wrong with that. The issue I have that I've learned is the way our meat is raised. We have come to a place where cooking is supposed to be very fresh, very simple, straight from farm to the kitchen to the table, versus now the industry is farm to a processing plant to a distributor that sits wherever it sits for whatever time, then out to wherever it needs to go, to the smaller businesses or the grocery stores or the restaurants. Then, and in having that extra time factor in it, we ended up adding a lot of additives, preservatives to the foods that supposed to make it stay fresh, but in our case, it's not exactly healthy for us to consume in the long run.
So with Bria, like, how is the keto lifestyle? Like, look, is it similar or is it a little bit different?
So with the keto lifestyle, it's a high fat, which is healthy fat, moderate protein and low carb diet, and you can still be vegan and be keto. I know that. And I believe you can also be plant-based and still be keto. You're just really what it's really about is just making sure that you're increasing high fats. Everything else you can still have and just adjust. And what's different is you're just using different, healthier ingredients. And so now I learning more about plant-based. I'm seeing how keto and plant-based can align and still do both lifestyles at the same time. It's just the difference is just the intake of higher fats, healthier fats like avocado, olive oil, and not hoarding up on like bacon or anything like that. That is not keto.
It's not plant-based either.
No, not at all. Not at all. So from what I'm learning, plant-based is limiting the types of meats that you're eating and shellfish. Okay. Yeah. And then just going more so like having more greens and incorporating a lot of that. What about dairy?
Like for me with dairy, it depends. Like I know I can't have regular dairy. If I do eat regular dairy, I'll break out. Like, and it shows on my face, like literally. And when you are when we are switching, just people to get to dairy, when you're switching to a plant-based lifestyle, your body is gonna go through these changes. You're gonna be like, oh my God, and it's gonna shatter your self-esteem for a second. But it's about the mindset, because what you're doing is you're taxing all the bad things that's inside of you. And so for me, dairy, sometimes you have to cut dairy out. So I have to cut dairy out because that was also, I found out that was contributing to my breakout. I couldn't have regular cheese. So now for dairy, what I do is I had switched to coconut milk and almond milk. And I found with almond milk that it was too heavy if I was having it too much. But then I switched to coconut milk. It was more lighter on me. And then I did start noticing some changes in my body. And I was noticing changes in my skin. And I was feeling a little bit energy. So I make my own cheese now. So like if I do go out, of course I'll have like mac and cheese. I'll dab in it. But I just know that once I eat it, I'm going to come home, I'm going to have breakout. So, and the breakout doesn't go away right away. So you have to stay consistent. And so I make my own vegan cheese, and of course you have to test it out. You have to do, you have to experiment to get it to where you want, and that's what I had to do. So I finally found a recipe where I can still keep my Caribbean taste, but you know, fire in doing the plant-based. And all I'm doing is that I still have the pasta, but the pasta is not the regular pasta, because I also have, for me, I have to make sure that there's no chlorine on the ingredient. So you have to really pay attention to what's on the box, right? If it's like, if the flour we have, it has chlorine in it, it's not good for your body. It wasn't good for me. I was like, why am I experiencing all these discomfort? I'm feeling like tired. You know, when you eat, you just like, I feel sluggish. I shouldn't be feeling like that. And so and just really paying attention to what you eat, and like it's just a healthier version of it. Like if I can still eat meat as a even if you do plant-based, you don't have to technically give up meat. It's just that you have to pay attention to the packaging and what you're buying, and make sure that it's farm raised and there's no hormone added to it, because like I said earlier, as we get older, our body is changing. We're not like our kids, you know, when we're in our 20s, when we're in our teens. Our body is different now, so we have to be mindful of what we're consuming, because what's going on inside of you is gonna, like, you know, it's gonna spread out everywhere else. It's gonna affect you mentally, because you're like, okay, I don't feel good. So you're gonna feel sad. You're gonna feel depressed because you don't know what's going on. So drinking a lot of water, like sugar, really reducing the sugar intake. So I change a lot of things that I'm eating. And like, I'll go to family function. They're like, what are you going to eat? I'm like, don't worry about me. I can just have a salad and I'm good. No, seriously, like, I'm like, I can have a salad and I'm good. I just can't have the chicken. I can have the chicken, but the oil that you're using is going to make me sick. Because what I find is that once I detox from all that stuff, and now I introduce my body to something new. Once I decide to be like, okay, I'm going to cheat, I'm going to eat, I'm literally like, a few minutes later, I am sick and I am vomiting. Like, I am like, literally, it's coming out of my body. It's like, what are you doing? It's no longer healthy for you. So I have to really like make sure I stand it. Not saying that sometimes like I will like try, but I just know that if I try, just be ready to feel sick after that. And so I have to make sure I stay with it. So that's kind of like, for me, the plant-based, how I do it for me, and that's how it works for me. And so that way I don't have those breakouts, because when I do experience those breakout, it doesn't go away right away.
I'm the same way too. Like, even, you know, transitioning from the way that I used to eat, and now seeing the difference. So, you know, culturally, we're from the Caribbean, the West Indies, and so we eat naturally a lot of carbs. And we just, and it tastes so good. And of course, you have, you know, me, I have a bad sweet tooth, so I love brownies and chocolate chip cookies, but at the time you don't know how it's making you feel until you transition into a new eating lifestyle. And what I realized with doing keto, naturally, when you're beginning any different lifestyle, you're gonna feel sluggish because your body is adjusting, and it's like naturally detoxing. And so now, fully into the keto lifestyle, and if I have a cheat meal, I'm instantly tired. I'm instantly like exhausted, and it's because of the carb intake makes you feel sluggish and are bloated. It's because there's a big difference in the types of food that you're eating and the different ingredients that you're nourishing your body with. And so I think it's when it comes to trying to figure out what type of eating lifestyle that you want to do for yourself, I think, yes, doing research is important, talking to your doctor, and also knowing that when you do try it, don't get discouraged, especially in the beginning, because you're gonna feel different and like, why am I so tired? Why am I so moody? That's just all part of your body detoxing what your body's so used to, and transitioning into a more healthier lifestyle as well.
And for someone like that's new, Victor, like in terms of transitioning, what are some things like they will need to start doing or pay attention to?
Yeah, I would actually say, for me personally, when I first started into this transition, I cut off shellfish and red meats, cold turkey, just following the doctor's orders. Chicken and pork took me a little longer to cut out. And even to this day, I'm not against it. I'll eat it here and there. But for the most part, I feel energy-wise, the vegetables, and not just vegetables, there's so much more plant-based foods out there than people think is, oh, I have to eat my greens. No, not just the greens. You got to eat your reds. You got to eat your yellows. You get the blues in, because nature provides all these different colors and foods for us. And as far as plant-based goes, I always tell people, being plant-based does not mean you're not getting a certain thing. And a lot of people focus on protein more when they think of plant-based. But actually, animal meats give us what is called complete proteins, which is amino acid wise. So it's not that plants don't have proteins. Plants do have proteins in it, but they just don't come complete as far as all the 20 amino acids in it that meat would provide. So in order to complete that cycle, I always tell people, hey, if you start eating, eat the colors, eat as many colors as you like, not just green. Get your whites in, get your yellows, get your greens, your reds, your blues. And if you're able to eat what I call, I'm going to coin it soon, I could say eat the rainbow. If you're able to eat
Yeah.
the rainbow at every single meal, I could almost guarantee you're not going to need any meats in your life. If you're able to eat the rainbow in every single meal, you're not going to need it because you're supplementing all the other parts already that's not
Okay.
missing. And on top of that, you're getting much more variety that what we spoke about, the gut microbiome likes more. It doesn't deal good with sugar at all. It doesn't deal good with alcohol. These guys don't like sugar, like because sugars make them uh, go a little nuts, and then alcohol destroys them in a certain way. But fibrous plants, resistant starch vegetables, starchy vegetables, plantains, yuccas, potatoes, um, is what they really like. And that's also what would help us be more consistent as far as going to the restroom as well. Also, that's one of the changes I noticed in my body, that I'm very consistent now. And that's a good thing because it's a cycle. I'm eating, I'm going, I'm eating, I'm going. And it's part of the cycle of being healthy, I feel. It's a big issue in America because we're not getting those fibrous plants that we need. And we feel like eating meat is sufficient. And that's where I would ask a lot of people, hey, start being more honest to yourself.
Yes.
And I think that's where it starts with being honest. At the time, I didn't want to hear it either, but I had to face that only because of the physical conditions that I was going through with me. Like, hey, Vic, you got to take a look at this more seriously. And maybe what you thought was healthy before actually was not. And as far as diets are concerned, I totally agree. And going into a new diet, your body is going to shift and feel changes a little bit. I would always say, give it some time, give it
Yes.
some time, see how you feel, not 3 weeks in, 3 months in. Give it at least 3 months and see how you feel then. And be honest with yourself. Be honest. If you're eating foods and you're feeling sleepy afterwards, that's probably not the right types of food for you. Though I would keep those foods in the back of your mind and understanding, hey, those foods that make me feel lethargic, I won't eat them until my last meal because I'm going to sleep afterwards
Yeah.
anyway towards the nighttime. So if it's setting up for that, I think it's a good purpose for it. But if you're eating foods and breakfast time is you're feeling like crap by 10, 11 before noon, then it's not working out for you. I would say, hey, take a look at it again and readjust that meal time.
Yeah, I think it's important because basically it's what we're all saying is that if you want to feel healthy, if you want to have a good mental, you got to eat healthy. Basically, you got to eat healthy. It's what you're consuming because everything else goes into it. Because if you're not feeling healthy and you're feeling like you're tired, sluggish, you're not gonna get up and work out.
Right.
You're not gonna focus on your physical health because inside of you and you're mentally you're not there. But then if you start putting the right nutrients in, it's gonna contribute and it's gonna help with like how you feel and how you think. Because also I know like when you take vitamins, it's supposed to help with clear the mind, right? When we drink some tea, it helps calm yourself, it helps clear the mind. So it's like we're getting it from the food, from the greens, from the, like you said, the rainbow. So we're still getting the same benefit. It's just about if you want to feel good, if you want to move, if you want to feel energized, if you want to like not feel all those feelings that's like not so good, you just have to start eating the rainbow. And I know that's something that I'm incorporating for me, and I see a change.
Yeah. And it's more so like also eating to live. You don't want to wake up one day and be like, I don't know what's going on with me, and having to go to the hospital doctor to tell them you got type 2 diabetes, and or high cholesterol, high blood pressure. And that's one of the things with me too, is that what really got me into maintaining my health was high blood pressure, and that runs in my family, and cholesterol. And so I remember I went in and the doctor was like, oh, you got high blood pressure and high cholesterol. I had it throughout my pregnancy. And then once I started changing my diet, she was like, what have you been doing? I changed the way I eat because I want to live a long life. I now have a family. I want to live longer, and not only being honest with yourself, but living intentionally, being conscious. And once you start doing these practices, I feel like you start to begin to see your life more clear and which direction you want to go to, because everything is starting to be in alignment.
Yes.
And
Totally
then
agree.
mentally, physically, and then even, spiritually and inside you, you start to open up and say, okay, like things are starting to align and this is my journey. What it is it that I want to do? I'm taking care of this, but what else is there that I want to do? What my purpose and calling is. And all of that aligns with each other. And I've heard that for you, Victor, just even, with your businesses and your fitness, and now you're a yogi, and how that you found the perfect fit for you and plant-based as well. So what are there any new things going on in your life or your business? I know we're in a pandemic, so how have things been for you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I started this business in the middle of the pandemic. I
Look
started
at
this
that.
company
Look
in
at
And
that.
I
June.
have to say, I have tried the food, and yes, it was good. And we did like a sushi. Like you showed me how to cook sushi, and that was like
Uh-huh.
good because I'm a plain person, and I was introduced to something new. So definitely to learn that, and and so I will say like, yeah, the food tastes really good.
Yeah, so you have your
Thank you.
own catering business right now? What is
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what I'm doing right now is the service I offer is doing meal prep planning
Mm,
for those. So I'm creating meal prep boxes
okay.
for my clients, and it's currently at 2 days a week. I'm giving them 2 lunches and 2 dinners every week. And I have 2 menus running right now, one fully plant-based and one with meats still.
Well, I'm gonna look at that.
I eventually want to, yeah, please, I'll send you some information.
Yes.
Eventually, I want to phase out of cooking meats altogether, and I
Okay.
want to focus very much more on plant-based, because me embracing this myself, I'm forced to go deeper into the plant-based cooking. And in cooking plant-based foods, it is much, I don't want to say it's harder, but the deg- degree of difficulty is much higher, because
Mm,
I'm not just dealing with a slab of meat now. I'm dealing with, like I say, multiple different items and putting it together, understanding how this tastes alone, how this one tastes alone, how this one tastes
okay.
alone, and how it would taste coming all together.
Together.
At the same time, trying to understand the nutritional value behind it and making that happen as well
Mm-hmm.
too.
Mm-hmm.
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 So that's been my challenge. And also making the meal prepping boxes. I'm not fully cooking all the foods 100%, because then they'll just kill all the nutrients when the clients are reheating the food the second
Mm-hmm.
time. So I have to learn
Okay.
to cook foods to a certain degree and then stop it, cool it down, and then I'm boxing up everything cold and then delivering my meals to my clients cold. My parents laughed at me. They said, "You're selling cold food?" At first, and I'm like, "No, you don't understand.
There's
They
a
gotta
science
reheat it." And
behind
this
it.
Yeah.
it's the total science behind it. And this is
Yeah.
literally my journey right now, and what I'm dabbling in with and what I'm playing around with. Some some plants just don't go with each other. Even though, as much as say mix and match it, yeah, you could mix and match it, but some things just don't go. I've tried it before. And so there's some things that timing too in cooking matters a lot also.
Mm-hmm.
Some vegetables would cook faster, some would take, like beans and legumes would take definitely much more
Mm-hmm.
longer.
Okay.
So, and cooking it in different phases and then bringing it together at the same time matters a lot also, is what I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I think like plant-based is definitely something that everyone can try. I mean, you're already eating salad already. You're already incorporating plant-based. It's just being more intentional about it. I know for me, it's just being more intentional, and I enjoy cooking, especially when I don't have to really give up what I'm giving up. It's just
Yes.
changing some of the ingredient. And then I know right now, there is a chef, a Dominican chef, who is taking like the Spanish food and still cooking it to keep the flavor, but just making it more healthier. So I'm like enjoying that process for myself. Well, Victor, thank you so much. Like, this was great, and I actually learned something new about like the rainbow. So I'm happy that you were able to come on and share with our guests what intentional living looks like and how it can help transform your life when you start thinking of what you consume and you put in your body, because it helps you with your mind, your body, and soul. So it's all connected together. So
yes, I
before we
agree.
wrap up, we have to do a wild card segment. So are you ready for that?
Sure.
All right. You want to take it, Bria? Go ahead.
Yes. So Victor, pick a number from 1 to 10.
1 to 10. I'll pick number 8.
Whoever you
Oh. List 3 words that describe your character.
It's 3 words that describe my character. Ah, okay. I would say loving,
Mm.
strong, unique.
I like that. And then it also encompasses your yogi because you're a yogi. So I'm like, that is so you.
Exactly.
I mean, Victor, it was such a pleasure having you on as a guest.
Thank you,
Yes.
ladies. It
Please
was
tell
great
our
having me.
audience, where the name of your business, where they can find you as well.
The name of the company is Chef Soul Plant Base, and you can find that on Instagram currently. That's all I'm running off of, is Instagram.
Okay, and what's your Instagram handle?
My personal handle is Wayming Soul Fit, and business Instagram is Chef Soul Plant Base.
Okay, great. So we'll definitely put that in our episode description.
Yeah.
And I'm excited, for you and your journey and your delicious food as well. So, all right. Well, thank you all for listening. And until
Thank you
next
for having me.
time, see you all.